Start recording. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with episode 11 of Zed Daily. Today, I have Archibald from Archibald Royal Families with me. How you doing, sir?
Hanging in there, man.
Hanging in there. All right, so before we get into Zed Run, you've been like buying massive horses, like race horses, high price horses. So I'm wondering, how did you build your wealth to where you're at the point to where you can just straight buy someone's whole stable out?
I mean, that's a multi-part question. So, I mean, where do I even start? Obviously, I'm a little bit older than I think a lot of people um, that play this on a grand scale. I'm 37. Um, I'm married, bunch of kids. So I've been in the what I call the real world for a while. So it isn't my first rodeo. Um, so I mean, I went to college. I did the army. Once I got out of that, I went into finance. So I started out on a trade desk, worked my way. Even though I loved trading, I realized that advising was way more lucrative, telling people what to do with their money. Did that for about a decade, then realized I was tired of telling people what to do and them not listen. So I
Mm.
said, hey, I'm going to flip back over to the operations side. Went to grad school, met a couple guys, started a hedge fund. Um, Honestly, it's just 20 to 25 years in the game. With that much time, you're going to grow your wealth basically if you're not completely incompetent. So that's how I got to where I am. I've been in crypto since about 2016. So obviously got in well before it really took off. So built some wealth there, but honestly, a lot in just the traditional markets as well. Advising and trading and running a fund. So that's where I got where I am. As far as like why Zed and these blockchain games in general, I wanted to find a way to get better yield on my crypto. And about a year ago, whatever, when I kind of discovered lending and staking, I was like, hey, 5% is great and all, but like I want more. And all these different blockchain games, I mean, people are complaining you can still go in here and make 25% on your Ethereum like in a crappy market. And I think if you look at it like that, it makes more sense. I think the problem is, 25% on zero point 0.4 Ethereum a year doesn't really light many fires for people. But, when you're looking at several hundred Ethereum, that starts to add up pretty quick. So
Mm.
that's the short version. There's a lot of things that happen along the way, but, in general. So,
So, when you got into crypto, did you just go Bitcoin or Ethereum, or did you go into some other coins?
yeah, so great question. So originally, I came across Bitcoin because I used to be a pretty avid sports bettor. And they started allowing the ability where you could cash in and out with Bitcoin. And I was like, I'd heard of this. Quick side note, hey baby, sorry, one second.
You're good.
Mommy's gone. She went to the store, but daddy's on a call. Okay, thank you. Sorry, my middle kid's homesick,
You're
so
good.
it's gonna be one of those days.
It's all good.
Um, so anyways, so I'd heard about it like 2 years earlier. This guy I knew that was a lot younger was telling me all about it, and I was like, man, you're a fool. I haven't heard from that guy in like 8 years. I'm sure he's on an island somewhere because that dude was stacked with Bitcoin back then. I mean, and he was the kind of guy that was like, I'll never sell one. So that guy, congrats to you wherever you are. But anyway, so I'd heard about it. When I saw it, I want to say the time it was fluctuating between like 2,500, 3,000. So I would buy, I'd buy two or three or four Bitcoin, put them into the platform, make some, lose some. In retrospect, I hate that I ever did that. I wish I just kept it all. But so that was that. And then that's, being in markets, I'm always looking for edge and value. So I started reading about altcoins. This is right before the big, initial ICO boom in 17. And I came across Cardano. And so I was actually hated Ethereum, had some, but mainly had Cardano, which if you follow that at all, I mean, that built a big portion of my kind of crypto wallet over the last 3 or 4 years. Um, Today, though, I mean, I don't mess around with a lot of the altcoins. Like I own a lot of Bitcoin. Obviously, all my Ethereum is tied up in blockchain utilities. So like Zed, Voxies, NFT Red Zone. I bought a bunch of the stupid picture things. I mean, whatever. And then most of my Cardano, actually, I recently finished and kind of moved it over into the blockchain space. So pretty much just blockchain games through Ethereum and Bitcoin right now.
Okay, so when you
Yeah.
initially find Zed, is that entertainment or investment at the starting point?
So it's interesting. I mentioned the whole used to bet and stuff. I quit. But I grew up going to horse tracks and stuff like that. So I always was very interested in it. I always wanted to own horses, own a stable. And then when I came across Zed, I was like, oh, cool. It's like that atmosphere, but it's not betting, right? So it's like, I don't have to kind of break my rules here. I can invest, I can find value. It's a breeding game, just like real life. So at first I was like, I'll check it out. I bought some crappy horse, ran it a little bit. And then I was like, okay, this has the potential to just like blow up, right? And so from there, I just started kind of converting my ETH slowly. Here of late, as the market kind of dipped, which half of it's because of things going on. The other half is, when Ethereum runs, NFTs in general get clipped, right? Like that's just how it works. I just wanted to take advantage and start kind of dumping everything in. So it went from like, what is this hobby to like, this is a fantastic way to get yield on your crypto is how I look at it. So even in today's market, it really is.
Awesome. So what was the first horse you bought?
His name is Blueberry. I want to say it's a legendary Z19. I bought it. It was already raced. I didn't know anything at the time. I raced it a bunch. It never won. Recently, though, I actually raced it until it finally won a race. I think it won in its 25th race. But I have it in the stable still. I want to say it's a Z19. So that was the first. And then the first Genesis I got, man, that's a great question. I don't even know. I got a bunch of them though. They were Buterins, I'm pretty sure, was kind of how I dipped my toe in the water. Cause I saw the thing, obviously breeding wasn't around at the time. This is probably back in March or April. So there weren't tons of legendaries just floating around and exclusives and elites. And some of the better horses were ones that have been bred previously. So I think I realized at first I went in like, oh, I want to get as many Genesis males as I can because then I'll make money studying them out. And then we started to see like, oh, the market's saturated with that. So then I was like, okay, I need more females. I wish I'd have got more females. Now I've kind of gone back the other way where I think, hey, maybe, good males probably make more sense. But now that I've gotten all involved with the blood tool and everything, like I realized that, you can throw crap on the wall, but it's not sustainable, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's a long-winded, but that's kind of where I'm at. At this point, I think the values in Genesis, obviously, especially with, if they do change the way races work and racing algos or how things work, a racer today could be a donkey tomorrow, and a donkey today could be a racer tomorrow. But I think with Genesis, you have a much higher floor because at the end of the day, you have to have Genesis to make the next level, right?
Do you plan on racing most of your Genesis or keeping them unraced just as like a collector's box?
Man, so originally I raced everything. I would buy it and it would be in a Griffin before it even, had finalized on OpenSea. I went for a while. Like right now, I think I have like 20 Genesis that aren't raced. And it's not because I'm sitting on them. I just haven't had the time. The only one, so Bull Run, Z2 Nakamoto, he's that Midnight Black. I haven't raced him or bred him because I don't know why. I just haven't been able to. And then I bought that Z1 Warhammer recently. Same thing, unbred, unraced. I don't know if I'll race them just willy-nilly. I might wait till there's like an event and do it then. And then I think I have one more knack that's unraced and unbred. Flash Gordon. Everything else is pretty much buttes, I think. I'll race those in time. Just, if I get time, get a wild hair, I'll throw them in and see what they are. Because we see, there's a lot of, Z8, 9, 10 buttes out there that are top racers that, they just need to be raced. And there's, thousands that are going to come and thousands that have been raced. But I don't really see with legendaries and exclusives, you take a big risk racing them as far as their value goes, right? If they're donkeys or not studs, and the community's smart enough now to be able to tell the difference. But with Genesis, I think they're still going to hold their value. So I'm not that worried about racing them.
Okay. So
Yeah.
when you're buying these Genesis horses, how are you picking which ones? Are you in contact with certain stables? Are you just doing your research on secondary sites? Are you looking on the secondary market? What's your process for picking the Genesis?
So obviously if it's like a UU, there's not much analysis you can do on it, right? It's just, hey, is the price right? I picked up a bunch of those because honestly, I think I shared this with you. Like, this is a very immature investment community. And what I mean by that is like people can't handle red, and so people just start fire sailing. So, both racers and unraced Genesis, I've been picking up for I think fire deals. Um, Racers, it's obvious. I'm looking at kind of their performance. Do I think it can last as the racing changes and alters? With UUs, it's just as simple as, hey, do I think I can make this money back in X amount of time? As far as things that have been bred, I'll plug them in to a blood tool. I'll plug them in. I'll go look at their offspring. Blood tool does most of that for you. Honestly, it takes like hours out of it. Like I can figure out if a horse is a good breeder in 2 minutes, as opposed to, well, theoretically a good breeder in 2 minutes, as opposed to, going through 4 different sites. And really, I'm just looking like, if I see someone has something for sale, I'll click on it. I'll go look and I'll see if they've been like fudding or not. And I'll just take advantage of their emotion, honestly. That's kind of just
Motivated sellers, really.
100%, man. So I used to always say this: behavioral finance is a really big field in psychology and in the markets. And so, like as an advisor, we did a lot of reading and work in it because, it comes to show that like the human mind gets more stimulation from a 10% loss than it does from a 50% gain. So like a little bit of red, and like when you think about it, like everyone's like, oh, the market's dropped off. But if you look at it from like a pure US dollar standpoint, which I know is like the cardinal sin in crypto, it really hasn't dropped that much. Because yeah, maybe it's gone from 15 ETH to 11 ETH, but I mean, ETH's almost doubled in the same time. So I kind of look at it like that. Maybe my $72,000 horse is only worth $65,000 right now, but I mean, who cares at the end of the day? Like, I think the market's going to go higher in time. Everything appreciates over time unless they totally, shit the bed, for lack of a better term. Then there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, nothing you can do about that. So, what's your long-term plan for Zed? Like, where do you see your stable in a year from now?
Yeah, so this thing's going to turn into, in my opinion, like a full play to earn blockchain game. So you're going to be able to rent out assets, right? They'll write the smart contracts. You'll be able to rent horses, or maybe your stable, or rent breeds out. Like right now, for example, the breed system is very clumsy, right? Like you have to have 2 stables if you want to interbreed. Like there's no reason those shouldn't be the same price, right? Like, so you can all be inside of one stable. So I think they're going to hammer all that out over time. I'm trying to acquire as many EV positive horses as I can, meaning someone would want to rent them for X amount of time because they would make a little bit of money. And that's my plan a year from now. Hopefully it exists where I'm just, I'm barely touching it. Maybe 95% of my good stuff is being rented out. And then I'm experimenting, trying to find the next big racer. I went on a Nakamoto spree lately, with the value. I feel like if Zed's going to thrive, they will have to protect the value of the lower bloodlines, right? So I'm kind of banking on that. I think what makes me different than a lot of the people I've interacted with, like on Twitter and just in Discord in general, is like, if Zed went to zero tomorrow, like, yeah, it would suck. Like I'd lose millions of dollars, but like I wouldn't be out on the street, if that makes sense, right? Like I have other investments. I think a lot of people in Zed, like you even mentioned yourself, like you had this, you went in, like you were into Zed, right? Like you're not playing in a bunch of spaces. You know what I mean? It's like, for example, like I put a group together. I have an equal size investment in Voxies, which I think is going to be like this monster game that's about to come out, right? So like, it's kind of those diversification principles. Like I look at that in Zed. Zed's my biggest blockchain game, don't get me wrong, but like I see that I'm able to take this risk now that they will implement and succeed in all these things, and I'll be able to create yield and income off of it. Where if they don't, I mean, it sucks, don't get me wrong, but like I said, my kids won't be out on the street.
Right. And I mean, Axi Infinity kind of already set the bar and showed us
One,
like what you can do with a game like this, right?
yes, and I mean, it looks so dumb. It's like little Kirby Peach Puffs like fighting each other with cars or something. Like, cool, I get it, people are into that, but like I think, and I'm not funning on Axies. Like I know a bunch of guys that make a ton of money on it. Like props, dude. I wish I got in. The reason I haven't is their system is super time intensive. Like you have to be in there managing all your scholars. That's why I kind of like what Voxies is doing, because they're able to learn. There wasn't a Zed before Zed. Like they weren't able to pull the pros and cons from a previous project. Voxies and whatever comes out after them is able to. Like Axies, they set the stage. So they're doing like a completely different loaning and renting system where it's all done. Like you don't have to go into all these millions of little things.
Mm.
But yeah, so they've set the stage like that. I assume that's where Zed's going if they want to be successful. If they end up flipping this into like a hobby type game, though, I mean, the market will bottom out for sure. People, if you take away the ability to have an edge and make coin in this, I mean, that would essentially kill the market for, I mean, whoever knows how long. But
How do you think you give yourself an edge in this game?
a couple ways. One, I mentioned earlier, this isn't my first rodeo. I've been in markets for a long time. I'm not saying to be conceited, but throwing, my fund, we throw 6 and 7 figures at investments all the time, right? In and out all day. That's what we do. So it doesn't intimidate me. I think if you've never done that, it's very intimidating. You're like about to click buy and spend, $4,000, $8,000, $12,000. Like that's intimidating to a lot of people. And I mean, that's a lot of money. Like $1,000 will always, hell, $100 will always be a lot of money to me. Like that'll never change. But the more experience you have interacting with that, I think more of the edge it kind of gives you, and you're able to take advantage and kind of pull on people's heartstrings. That's one advantage. Two, like I'm not a data scientist or anything, but I understand data. This is a numbers game. At the end of the day, if I look at a horse, if it's not clipping at what I need it to clip to be a profitable horse, I have the emotional intelligence to park it. I think a lot of people don't have that. Y'all mentioned yesterday, you and Naruto were talking about it on the stream. Like, I know I should have raised my horse at this price and this distance, but then that one pops up and I'm like, oh, I want to get in. Like, we all do that. If you want to be, EV positive, you can't do that. It's no different than taking a shot at like a day trade or trying to YOLO some options or something. Just that one time, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do it this one time. If it hits, great. If it doesn't, doesn't. So I think those things kind of give me an edge. Two, I mean, like I said, I've been around the block. I'm twice. iPad things are just.
It's all good.
Hey, when you're 15, 20 years older than a lot of people, I think in terms of like the market side of it, I think you just have an advantage discussing things. You've seen more. Like, do I like what the market's done? No, not at all. It sucks. But like, I also don't think every little mistake is a reason to like rage quit, which we can talk about that later. But I think I've lost more money investing in my life than a lot of people have made in their life in general. And I'm personal money, even. I'm not even talking about my hedge fund, right? Like personal money. So like the first time it hurts, but after a while you get numb to it and you realize you're able to take calculated risks. And I think that's the name of any investment, any gain. I think that gives you a huge advantage. When like, damn, if I don't win these next 4 races, like I'm gonna be eating craft singles for the next 3 days. Like that puts a lot of stress on people, and then they push and they press. In poker, they call it going on tilt, right? Like you see that a lot in this game, and a lot of other games too. So I'm not saying I'm immune to it by any means, but I try. Yeah. I try to remember that the best I can.
So how do you explain spending this much money to your other hedge fund buddies? What do they say about Zed Run and your investments?
To like my partners?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, our fund's primarily traditional markets, equities, options, futures. We got about anywhere from like a 5 to 10% allocation into actual crypto tokens like Bitcoin and Ethereum that we hold and stake and lend. And we do a lot of that arbitrage type stuff. I've been telling them for the past 9 months, like, hey, we need to figure out a way to get some side letters to do some NFT projects. I think, this market's the Wild West, but at the end of the day, like there's a lot of money to be made here. I think we've kind of already, got over the hump as far as like the mad rush. There might be a project here or there, but it's not gonna be the thing where you just throw shit at the wall and you make money anymore. They think it's crazy. Most of my friends that are in crypto are like, I don't get how these things are worth this much money, yada, yada, yada. You know how people are when you try to tell them, oh yeah, check out this NFT digital horse thing that I just bought for $45,000. They're like, what? People don't get it. That's why I know we're really early, because people will eventually get it. Video games have been around for a long time. They've done nothing but grown. Now you're giving an ability where a video game can essentially create a stream of income for you, which, we've seen with esports athletes or whatever you want to call them. This will be similar. And, you see things with Axis over in like the Philippines and stuff. there's billions of people in this world that live below the poverty line that could benefit from things like this. And I know the double-edged sword there is like, you don't want to get to like the Ready Player One society where everyone's just plugged into a visor all day and lives in an alternate world. But like, there's probably a good medium. So, you know, I keep telling them like, we should have gotten in. I told a bunch of my buddies that were in crypto when I first started, I was like, hey, anyone that gives me 1 ETH, I'll give you 10% of my interest in my stable. And they're all like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, well, you know, you would have a lot of ETH now. But I get it. You know, not everyone has the same risk tolerance, I guess is the best way to say it.
Okay.
So
That's interesting to offer. How would that work? So they'd give you 1 Ethereum and then you would just pay them out on profits from racing and breeding?
yeah, like, so I'll be honest. So a month ago, I took on a partner. I sold 20% of my stable interest. Um, I didn't cash out. Like, I took that and added into kind of our stable in general to kind of raise the value there. But yeah, it's a thing like monthly, you know, I go over the balance sheet. I'm like, hey, here's what we put in. Here's what we got out. We're net positive. We're net negative. This is what we got. Do we want to reinvest? Do we want to take a dividend, or do we want to do both? So it's just, you know, just kind of run it simple. It's tough because crypto is like such in a wild west from like taxes and distributions and everything, and how all that works. But you know, I talked to my CPA, and I won't get into the tax advice, but like, I think I'm covered in you know, in terms of how we do it. But yeah, it's just straight up like, hey, do we want to create a stream of income, a yield? You know, do we want to pull out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ETH a month? Or do we want to push it back in and keep buying horses while the market's depressed? Do we want to do both? Because I told people a couple months ago, I was making easy like 12, 15 ETH a month just breeding and selling on race. Like, no skill set at all, because you know, Z2s and 3s were selling for 1.5, 2 ETH at the time, right? You know, if you can make 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those, and you could even, you know, you make a butte for 0.03 and sell it for 0.1. Obviously those times are gone. Like, I've maybe bred 6 total horses in the last 2 months, and I've raced them all. You know, the market's not there for it right now, so I'm not even messing with it. But that will eventually come back, I think, especially as they open up, you know, other avenues and other ways you can use horses. You know, I'll get back into the breeding game for sure.
How do you think the market got to the point where we're at today? Do you think it was breeding minimums, class updates, removal of free races? What was the precipice for that?
So the simple answer is Zed scaled, and their system wasn't built for a bigger audience, right? Like, when you got 5 or 10,000, 20,000 horses, and you know, 6,000, 7,000 players. Heck, like 9 months ago, they had what, 500 stables. I mean, like, when you're at that size, it's a lot easier to control the ecosystem. Now you get to the point where like everyone is breeding everything they have. And let's not forget, you know, they cut the breeding in half. You know, they're like, hey, we're just going to do 3 and 1 as opposed to 7 and 2. Can you imagine if they did 7 and 2, like the nightmare that would be right now? The problem is the market got to this because it got so saturated, and now all of a sudden the bred horses weren't keeping up with the new users, because, you know, the market, like the gameplay wasn't expanding. It was still the same old point click, enter the race, try to run, analytics. There's no updates on the website. There's no updates on leaderboards. There's no leagues. I think tournaments will help a little bit. They need leagues. They need, like, if they truly want this thing to blow up and the market to recover, they need to give, you know, as everyone says, like, different options for people, like different ways to play. So it was just super oversupply. You know, supply and demand is very simple. It goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And, you know, when you don't have the new players coming in to take advantage, it's, you know, you're just basically breeding a graveyard for yourself. I don't even know if I have a horse. I don't even know if I've listed a horse in the last couple of months to sell, because it's just anyone buying, you know, they're getting the deal at the end of the day. You know, you don't make money giving people deals, for lack of a better term. So, yeah, I just think I don't want to say lack of execution, and I know we're going to go into this, but like, at the end of the day, like, I think everyone has to realize that, like, they might not have all the answers right now. And so, I mean, that's just, it is what it is, you know, like, these guys aren't the messiah here to create the greatest blockchain game ever. Like, pretty sure these guys were like a bunch of plumbers and electricians a year and a half ago. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, Andreessen, you know, that's, of all the partnerships, that's the one I'm most excited about. You know, that guy basically invented the web browser, right? Netscape, back in the 90s. They are the who's who of innovation development. They throw a lot of hooks out, but if anyone can help turn this around, it's them. I tell people, you don't 3 or 4 extra staff if you're failing, right? Um, these guys are sitting on a lot of money. It's just going to take time, and I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. That's why I keep buying. Uh, I've kind of paused for a little bit because I think we're going to take another leg down here pretty soon, and then I'm going to buy some more. I honestly, I don't know. That's just how I see it. I don't let my feelings get hurt when your quote unquote bags lose value. I got plenty of stupid pictures in my wallet that were shit. So at least I can race these things.
Exactly.
At the end of the day and breed them and do whatever. I, I do think a lot of the big names in the community are pretty hard on Zed in general. If you think about it, man, like these guys went from nothing to this ecosystem. And like, I know it's been around for like 2 years, but it's really only been like 8 or 9 months. And the growth is insane. And like this stuff takes time. It takes years and years. And I've used so many examples of like companies that they're not blockchain games, but your Apples, your Amazons, your small podunk companies, like everything, like it's trial and error. It takes time. I tell everyone to read that book, Shoe Dog, because Nike literally was 1 week from being bankrupt for their first 15 years of 25 years of existence. I mean, they were basically levering up every shoe order to get them over here from the East and then hopefully sell them. And if they ever hit a snag, they were done, out of business, gone. At the time, Adidas was the big boy in the game, right? So like that, it's the same thing here. Like, I'm not saying they're on the precipice of being irrelevant and going out of business, but like if people get fed up and leave, it doesn't mean that development's going to stop. The ship can still be righted, I guess is the best way to look at it. And Rome was not built in a day. I can't say that enough. I think the game today is going to be way different than the game we see, even 3 or 4 months from now, 6 months now, 12 months from now. Everyone's talking about this Netflix thing. I would be willing to bet my entire stable that there's some type of like legality or contract thing that prevented them from promoting that any differently than they did. Most people can't see it like that. I'd be willing to bet a lot that that's the case. And there's going to be things we're never privy to. You don't get to call, Tim Cook anytime your iPhone breaks and bitch at him, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't get to call, used to be Jeff Bezos, anytime your Amazon order is late. I think the community thinks that they should have direct access to the executives of Zed because they were here when it was small. But even like I'm on the board of directors of this app, and like I was literally the first investor in it, and like I own 10% of this company personally, and like it takes me 4 days to get a phone call back, right? Like that's just how life is. As you grow and expand, the more time you spend with I liked how Chris said the pitchfork holders, like the less time you're developing. I think a lot of these people that are leaving and selling, like if they made some money, great, but I think they're going to regret it, especially like some of these racers and stuff. Like I know we can say, some of these racers are not behaving like they have been. Who knows if that's temporary? Who knows what's going on? Who knows if it's competition or class or some type of preparation for the next stage? We don't know. But like, I think people that let go things that were like part of their identity will regret it down the road. Hit me up if you're looking to sell for cheap.
So go into that a little bit more. So you're talking about people rage quitting. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because just people aren't seeing the results they want right now, or people just want free races? They want the opportunity to, put minimal into the game, have a chance to just race free all day and grind? Like, what do you think the great exodus is?
And I've seen people literally bitch about something and then it changes and they bitch about like a completely opposite argument. I'm like, you were literally bitching about the other side of this. Now you're bitching about it because you don't like the way they fixed it or whatever it is. I think it is. People are emotional. People cannot handle red. At the end of the day, people cannot handle when their investments or their whatever, it goes down. And people will rage quit and they'll jump ship and they'll run and then they'll start saying, oh, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. Like you see it not just in blockchain, you see it in every investment in the world. I've seen it so many times on companies where like someone comes in, they get in at like a high, the stock dumps, and now all of a sudden they're bare. I'm like, you love the stock up here,
Mm.
so now you're gonna tell me you hate it down here? Like that makes no sense to me. And nothing fundamentally has changed. With Zed, yeah, some things have fundamentally changed, right? But like it's trial and error. I think at the end of the day, if someone's not making money like they were, or if something changes, they're out, they're pissed, they're done. I think a lot of it's, they're not putting their money where their mouth is. They just want to bitch and cry and moan. That's fine. We all do that at times. I, I just don't. I just don't think this generation has patience, man. That's what I
Mm.
keep saying. Like everyone's so impatient. They want it now, 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 now. I was talking to Retro. Everyone wants Zed to be like the next Bored Apes, which Bored Apes is dumb. Like hate me if you want. It's like it's a picture of a monkey. It's not even that good of art, honestly. And like I said, don't shoot me, people. I don't get the whole Bored Ape. The CryptoPunk thing, I like. I think. I mean, I still wouldn't buy one, but I think it's cool just because it was like the first whatever. Like that's cool. But all these different communities, I get social utility or whatever, but like at the end of the day, like social utility doesn't put food in the fridge. And I think
Facts.
people are going to realize that at some point. But when you go on and compete and find your edge, all these blockchain games are going to survive. All these things that aren't gamified are not. It's just the reason they're up is because you have this whole generation of people that bought ETH, bought these pictures, these things skyrocketed in value. And so now you got all these young kids with, what I call fuck you money that can do whatever they want, right? Nice. I cuss as my kid walks back up. Um, I just, I think utility and some of these games will fail too. Zed could 100% fail. I don't think it will, but it could. Uh, these things that are pure pictures are going to 100% fail. That's just my opinion. And, that's why markets exist. There's two sides to every story. Um, if you could short these things, I'm sure a lot of people would be shorting them. So, yeah, but, that's a long winded reason. Just people can't handle emotion, and the participation world that we live in now, people feel like they have not, the desire and the right to complain and speak out and be heard. Um, so I say, people should just be lucky that anyone's even responding to their upsetness at the end of the day. Because, 20 years ago, nobody would have cared or listened because you didn't have the medium to express it. Social media in general that's a whole nother show we could get on.
Yeah.
But I think it's just what it is, like people, they get upset, they're going to express it. And that's just how it is. And they're going to get upset if you don't listen to them. And the fact that, these executives of a company aren't individually responding to them on a daily basis makes them pissed because they put whatever dollar of investment that's a big deal to them into this game. I get it. I call or email companies all the time trying to talk to their executive board. Once in a blue moon, they'll get back to you, and it's usually small companies. I can tell you, Apple's never responded to any of my emails about requests to talk, to the board or to product or anything. And I think the sad thing about this too is like a lot of people have great ideas and good ideas, and there are people in the community that could definitely help Zed. But at the same time, everyone wants like a DAO or DAO, whatever it's called, where like they govern it, they pick it. But like, if you give people full power too soon, it can totally ruin something before it has a chance to be permanent. Um, and I think Zed's still fragile in the sense that like you could still fail. Like it's not too big to fail yet. Axi Infinity, on the other hand, like I saw them the other day. I lightly, loosely follow it. They made some change, like breeding stuff that the player community wanted. It was really helpful. Like they've gotten too big to fail, and then they've done really good at taking, feedback. I don't think Zed's gotten to the point yet where they can even take the feedback constructively. Like they're just not there yet. That's a great segue too. I can't say enough. This original team of Zed, like this isn't going to be the final team. Like some of these heads are going to roll. For every incredibly competent guy or girl there is on this team, there's one that's incompetent as can be. And I think you see that with the inconsistency in the product that's being delivered. The problem is when they make a change, they have to spend the time on the backside coding it, testing it, implementing it. Then once it's on the live thing, that's when they really get to test it. You can test things in a vacuum all day, but you got to put it out there. Like with breeding, they're like, we're just going to put it out there. We're going to work out the kinks. Sorry to everyone that got screwed. I got screwed. It sucked. I had a lot of money. But like, that's what you have to do. And I think most people that have built some type of technology will tell you that. You just got to get shit on and put it out there. But yeah, this team, for a fact, there's no way this original team stays there indefinitely. I mean, I don't know when we'll start to see names drop off, but it'll happen sooner rather than later, especially now that you have like big money and big names involved. Like they're not going to play this lack of execution game. No chance.
So what's the process of that? Is that like is that kind of like a Steve Jobs situation where like your board votes you out or something like that, or?
Yeah, so it could be, right? Like I'm not privy to any of the agreements or sponsorship deals they've made, like what the terms are, right? But like I can assure you, like a company like Andreessen coming in, like and investing, like they got some type of chunk of say of what's going to happen, right? Like they're not going to throw you $20 million and say, have fun, hope it works out. Like they're going to have some type of team and consultants digging in. And to be fair, this is all speculation, right? Like I'm not sharing the secrets to the castle or anything, right? But, I don't know how Zed's ownership structure is built either, but you have a couple guys, I think it's 3 guys that started it. They're quote unquote owners. There's the virtual human studio that runs Zed. I don't know how the whole ownership is structured. A couple guys might be able to answer that better than me, like ZG or someone. But over time, as it expands, like more people get a piece of the pie. And the only like modern company I've seen that's been really successful is Facebook, where like Zuckerberg's kept creative control of what goes down. And that's super rare. And I mean, he should. That dude's a freaking once in a generation genius. Even though he poisoned the world with Facebook, but like that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I don't know what their ownership structure is, but I think over time you're going to see people fall off, especially people that aren't direct owners of the platform. They're going to fall off in time. Any new hires, early hires, pure speculation, but I think they'll just go quietly into the night, whether it's a payout or, whatever other deal they've worked out. Early they probably didn't have incentivized contracts now, but they do. Like, hey, this is what's expected of you. I listened to the podcast of how they start this thing, or like drawing some stuff and, drinking beer at a bar. Like, obviously you're not hammering out specific, like performance-based contracts when you're doing that. But as you grow and get big and get legitimate, now all of a sudden you have tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars involved. Like now it becomes a real business. Now it's time to kind of hammer it out. So
what are some
that's business 101. I mean, if not, well, then hopefully they are listening to this and they're like, oh, that's a good idea. So
if some heads roll, like in the future, what do you think was the cause of that? Like, what do we have now? Do you think like that we shouldn't have, or that was poorly implemented that would cause someone to be removed from their position?
I mean, obviously who's ever in charge of communication shouldn't be at this point. 1 second. Sorry, 1 second.
It's all good.
Your pony game? What is that? I don't know what that is.
Zed Run 2.0.
Yeah. Okay. Is it on this or is it on the other one? We're walking 2 iPads up in here.
It's all good. You're good, man.
Here's apps, games. Is it on here? Just scroll. Look, you scroll like that, okay? Yeah, just scroll through all of them. You'll find it, I promise. Yeah, who's ever in charge of communication? And I've preached this, like, it's not as easy as just communicating. Like, you have to hire like a director who hires managers, who hires customer service. Like, it's a process, right? You don't just have someone sitting there tweeting out and going on Discord and responding to things. That's like a legal disaster. So like, I don't know where they're at in the process of that. Either they didn't have someone dedicated to it before and that's why it's so poor, or the person they had dedicated to it is pretty incompetent, or option 3, which people don't ever think about, is there's some type of legal or contractual whatever that prevents them from being more transparent. That's always a possibility, right? So yeah, the communications, the marketing, promo, they've done a great job getting some sponsorships. Not very good execution with taking advantage of these partnerships. Um, hey, you guys do something else, okay? I'm
Just
sorry.
like with the Netflix race, like they're not. We didn't know
Yeah,
about it until afterwards. Most people.
I didn't,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't know if I would. I lie. I would have jumped into it solely because it was a super EV plus race. I mean, the pool was what 4x the entry fee, so like I would have thrown the first horse I could click on probably in it. And that's why those guys were jumping in it because it's, 9 times out, that's an EV plus event.
Yeah.
When it's just like when DraftKings, when the guaranteeds don't fill, the pros go in there and just hammer the late lineups to try to take advantage, right? Because it's free money, it's EV plus. Yeah, the Netflix, like, yeah, the partnerships, the promotions people, the marketing people, like these all are poor, like subpar, very bad execution. Um, Now, is it legal related? Is it contractual? Is it just pure incompetence? I don't know. Maybe it's all of the three, and I don't know how to weight it differently. But I think all that's going to change. Some people make good points, like maybe they're not ready to scale yet, so maybe they're trying to keep the game under wraps because they can't handle an influx of 50,000 new stables or 100,000 new stables. I mean, think about it. Can you imagine if all of a sudden you had even 10,000 more people show up one day trying to race with the current system? Like it would be a shit show, disaster. It wouldn't work. They didn't have enough races. They filled too quick, especially the lower classes. Now they have weird algorithms where I don't understand why they don't have all the distances at all times. Like it just doesn't make sense to me, right? But I think that's stuff that has to get built out before you can bring on the masses. And I'll tell people, as a total side note here, like horse racing is probably the most accessible sport on planet Earth. Like, go watch cricket or rugby, and you're like, what is going on? And like someone over there tries to watch American football, and they're like, what the hell is this? But like everyone understands that like this horse starts here, and whichever one crosses here first is the one that won. And you can walk up to any window and put $2 down on any horse you want. Like you can't get an easier introduction to a sport than that. That's one of the main reasons why I think Zed has so much potential from a gamification standpoint. Because it's not gambling. At the end of the day, it's a game of skill, a game of chance, and a game of luck. And you go in and you plug and play where you want to go and you run. So just from that standpoint, like I think they're worried that this thing could blow up. You got to balance that with a point like, hey, what if we wait too long and then we lose our chance? That's certainly possible. Like these other things, derace. I mean, if you put money in that, good luck. So I can say like that team has a history of basically rugging people. And I think we've already seen that happen with one of the drops. I don't know. Chicken Derby sounds cool. I have no desire to race chickens, but I'm sure there's a great business out there for people that want to race chickens. A game like Axi did it right because they made a game where people make money almost no matter what. But it's not zero sum, or it is zero sum, meaning like some people make money, some people lose money. I think with Zed, far too many people make money. Excuse me, not like far too little people make money where the masses lose money. I think you can't have like a 50-50 per se, but I think you can make it way more competitive. Tournaments are the way to do that. Like tournaments give the small guy a chance where you have the puncher's chance to go in, especially as they open up other tournament types and stuff. That's something that might help them and save them. There's reason DFS took off, right? Because anyone can go in not knowing anything and take a shot. That's what Zed needs to be to people if they want to grow and expand. So,
I like that. And
yeah,
kind of like what you said with Axie, there's really two communities of players. There's the owners, you can own the assets, or there's like the people that will just the scholars, like they'll grind for you and you can pay them. So you don't have to have the fat bankroll to come in and buy like a Z1 equivalent. Right. You can just own it, have someone race. They can make a living more than they would make working a day job wherever they live, and everybody wins.
100%. And I mean, it's free to play to get into. I don't know if Axie's got a free to play option. I know Voxie's does. Like you can free to play and earn actual token once it launches. Maybe Zed down the road has something like that where like, hey, you can come in and maybe you don't own the horse, but maybe you can come in and like select from a pool or I don't know. If I knew, I'd run the game, right? But I don't know everything. I barely know anything, honestly. and I'm wrong half the time. So, they got a 50-50 shot here, but like maybe they implement something like that down the road. I was listening to the whole show yesterday with Naruto and everything, and he had some good ideas. He had some other ideas I didn't agree with. At the end of the day, though, it's like, okay, put her in. There you go. I don't know. I'll look at it in a second. Okay. The door's closed. I don't know how to get in there. I don't think you can go in there. Like at the end of the day, like the answer is not participation ribbons, but it's also not like, hey, only these people that can throw $1 million at the game can succeed. I think a new class system. I was talking to someone on Twitter this morning about ELO. Like ELO was developed. It was a zero sum between two people, right? Like it was, like you said, it was invented for chess. I don't know how you apply that to a 12 horse field goal. That's 12 players. Like that's a much more complicated process. That's probably why we haven't seen it yet. But the current class system, even if the current class system would work, if the classes were way wider, right? Like if it was 200 or 300 points in between a class system, it would work infinitely better, plain and simple. So even if they didn't go full ELO, they could change it like that. But the fact now, you can win 2.5 races and be in a different class where you can't compete and it's really hard to get back down. That's tough. I hate the tanking aspect of Zed. I'm glad they're trying to kill it. I hate the fact that you would want to lose a race on purpose. ELO solves that, right? Because you're going to be ranked near similar horses. But I think variance will still come into play because your U horse is still going to be a stud racer because it's going to win enough to cover any type of losses it's going to experience. Maybe they have different batches too, where they have a ranked ELO league system, and maybe they have like a free for all where anyone can go in and enter this race. Like, that's an option. I don't know what they're going to do. It's not like I'm sitting here, smoking the peace pipe, like, oh, Zed, I love it. Like, I'm ready for changes, like, I mean, I was sharing, I got 54 horses. I'm going to try to qualify for this tournament. If I can get 10 in, I'm going to be ecstatic. I got ECS helping me out doing this, right? Like, it makes the game fun when they have stuff engaged. Dan and I talk a lot about this, like make the game fun. If it's fun and I'm making money, like I'm hooked. But if it's not fun and I'm not making money, I'm like, well, I'm wasting my time, right? As you can see here, man, I got a full-time job. I run my own business. I got 3 kids. I'm married. It's hard for me to do these. I'm supposed to go on stable duels tonight. I'm like, okay, can it be later? Because I got to put my kids down. Like it's not like I can live and breathe Zed 24/7. I can't. So, I want them to make it where I enjoy doing it. And we're also, it's worth my investment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, it's not fun if you're not winning. Just plain and simple. If you're not winning,
No,
it's
I've
not
been
fun.
on the terrible week, man. Like something's changed.
Yeah.
Like everything I had that was hitting in like 16 and 20% win clips is like hitting 1 out of 10 or 15, maybe. Like I've just kind of parked it until the tourney to the free races pop up. Yeah, baby, I don't know. Why don't you play different game?
Yeah.
Just because something like maybe they tweak something for tourney, maybe they tweak someone in anticipation of a class rollout. Like what people don't realize is what people don't realize is like you can't change everything at once. So like you can't roll out a new race system and a new class system and a new algo. Like that would just overload the system. There'd be too much to test, right? You test in a vacuum, then you test in the real world. I think they've already said, for example, like with the race minimums, that the $5 minimum and $10 minimums, class 2 and 1, aren't working as they wanted. So they're already thinking about like rolling that differently. I'd always said they should do something like that, where like you don't have the bigger races in the lower classes, so that you don't incentivize tank horses from going down there, right? But I do like the idea. Like it's brutal, man. I got 30 class 1 horses, like the minimum $10 a pop, not to mention there's like one $10 race at any given time, so most of my stuff's just sitting there mothballing. There's a lot of things that I think will and need to change. That's why people always call me like a dick rider. I'm like, I'm not a dick rider. I just like, I see the vision. Doesn't mean they're necessarily executing it perfectly, but they're doing a lot more right than they're doing wrong. And that's shown by the fact that people are here. I sent out the clown gif yesterday. I'm like, you quit last night, but here you are. I see you in 4 races this morning. Like, come on, man. But that leash only will go so long. Especially if you start making it where most people aren't making money, you're going to kill it.
What changes do you want to see in class 1?
More race options, like distance wise, leaderboard, like a ranking system where you can see Kill the girl.
Kind of like
Get that one.
the tournament, but you can see like who's ranked in class 1.
Yes, like literally, like that. That's what would be cool about the Elo system. Is like, oh, I'm the number 44 ranked horse. Give me 1 second. Hey, hand me that one. It died. It ran out of batteries. Hand me that one. Goodness sakes. Falling apart over here. Stand by.
You're all
Look, it
good.
died. It died.
Technology.
Oh, look, it works again. What do you? There you go. Maybe I don't know what the pony game is. What's it called? The pony game with a little. Are you talking about my game?
Zed Run.
I think that's what she's talking about. I don't have it on here. Okay, do you want me to? Why don't you give me that one and we'll watch. We'll watch Paw
She
Patrol.
wants to race
We'll,
Ryan McLaren.
she's telling me she's watched it plenty of times. Is this it? Horse Rescue? There, play that one. That looks cool. Oh, never mind. That's Barbie. You're not playing Barbie. I don't know. Welcome to the real world, by the way, anyone that's watching. Sorry.
Hey, it's all good. Someone in chat said 250 racers are now in C1 and 2s as of a bit ago, so that's cool.
Oh, sweet. Perfect. Love that. I didn't know that. I've been on today, so that's what I'm talking about. That's what they needed.
Did you see the
knock it down class?
Yeah, you see the class update that they dropped today?
No, I haven't seen any. I've been like, I got the sick kid, I have the baby, the other kid I take to school. I haven't seen anything.
You can't race outside of your class now.
Like
Up.
Oh, you mean up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't really know what that changes. Do a lot of people do that?
I mean, just like now, if you have Princess of Power and you're sitting in class 3, you can't come up into class 1 and hop in your favorite race and the big money.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because I only have probably like 3 or 4 horses where I do that, where like they're true ewes, but like I'm gonna pull flames at a $10 race anywhere. Like that's the only time I'd ever go up. I like that though. But see that, yeah, they're doing this anti-tanking thing. Here, baby, you gotta do something else. I'm sorry, I'm on a call. Okay. I can't find the pony game. What were you saying? What was I saying? Sorry about that.
We were talking about
the leaderboard.
Yeah.
So like, it'd be sick. Like they gotta have leagues, and I think they will at some point. Like tournaments are the first stage. Like leagues would be awesome, especially when they're if they're big money leagues, small money leagues, regular money leagues. Like anything you can create, and they're going to get money from these sponsorships to start doing tourneys and leagues and stuff. Like that's the whole reason you have sponsorships, right? Like Anheuser-Busch isn't going to pay you $20 million to make money off of. That's just going to be in their advertising budget to go into things to see these Stella skins on the track. Like these sponsors aren't invested in Zed to be profitable. They're invested in Zed to get an audience. So Zed needs to increase the audience and get bigger, right? Like that's how advertisements work. But like, yeah, I think they need leagues, they need leaderboards, they need a financial dashboard. The things that everyone has created, like Know Your Horses, Haku, MJ, Dan, all these things, like they need to be doing this internally. You can't just rely on the community to develop everything for you. You can when you're small, but when you're getting big and you're getting big money, like you need to start putting some money into the infrastructure. And they are. I know they are. The hires they've made, the job listings they have, like they've been hiring tech. They've been hiring coders. They've been hiring dev. They've been hiring customer service. They've been hiring marketing. I mean, just hired a CMO. They hired an entire U.S. executive team. Like these are all things that we will see the benefits of in time. You're just not going to see them overnight. And I think even if we think of where this game was like 2 months ago, like think how far we've come. Do you remember when you used to like go in a race and then you'd have to wait for it to be 4 minutes and you'd go on Zed bets to see what your odds were? Like that was only like 4 months ago, man. Like now you have instant access to everything the second, so like 4 months, I get it. It's a long time in the NFT world, but like, Zed is early, man. And people always say, oh, it's in beta. Like, I think that's just like a troll at this point because they don't have someone like changing the website. Like they're obviously not in beta unless they're always going to be in beta because you're going to change things, right? This game today will not be the same tomorrow ever. Very few games have success like that. Like for every World of Warcraft, there's like 1,000 things that fail. And World of Warcraft was able to continuously change without changing like the core meta of the game and the whole purpose of the game. As long as Zed can maintain the integrity of, hey, you're here to race, make money, breed, make money, the rest of stuff won't matter. The problem is recently the tweaks and stuff are affecting that for different people. I'm glad to hear they got $2 races back in both those classes. Like that's a big change. I think we'll see racing pick up significantly just from that simple change. And by the way, people have mentioned for 3 weeks and they made the implementation. Like, I feel like they're always changing things based on community feedback. Just because you're not getting it now. I know that makes me a dick rider. I get it. But it's like, you just got to give people time, man. It takes time to do things. Time. But yeah, as far as, I'm pumped about that. I'm about to, when we get done, I'm jumping in if they got the $2 races back.
Yeah. And we got the Fibonacci.
Especially the way I've been running, man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to afford to keep running these 10s if I keep this streak up. So
yeah, me too, man. It's rough. So I wanted to talk to you about the blood tool. So I watched you go from calling Dan a snake oil salesman. You might still call him that, but
yeah, he's a snake oil guy.
You own the blood tool now. So
I do.
What was that process, and what made you change your mind?
So another blood tool owner, this guy Pack, was always telling me that Dan was a nice guy. I was like, all right, whatever. And then he went on ECS's show, and he kind of has a prick delivery, whatever. I mean, I'm sure people say that about me too. But it got to the point where I was like, man, this guy obviously has data. I've seen some decent horses come out of this snake oil. If I'm going to compete in this game, and I feel like I'm positioning myself to be a top stable in time, if I'm going to compete in this game, I need access to all the data. So I hit Dan up. I started with, I was like, hey, I had him blocked for a long time on Twitter just because I couldn't stand the guy. I was like, hey, I had you blocked. I can swallow my pride. Like, I think I might have been wrong. I want to check out the blood tool. Like, I get it. It's because he went and acquired Stack Nax. I was like, well, obviously this guy, when that was going down, I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, I love that tool. But he's like pro community, wants the game to thrive, has money in the game as well. So I was like, I can see past indifferences, of delivery and the way you talk to people, especially when I realized I'm just as bad. And so I was like, I'll check it out. I'll get it. Honestly, the blood tool, like, the tool's cool. I use it. I bred 6 horses with it. All seem pretty decent so far. I mean, obviously, all of them are under 20 races. So we'll see, a couple months from now how they're faring. But the real value in it is the Discord, man. It's like there's 41 of us, all decent stables. But just like the ideas and what goes on in there is worth way more than the 1 ETH that you pay for the blood tool. I've had tons of people reach out. The problem is you'll get the value from that. I don't think you'll get the value from the actual tool unless you have a pretty sizable stable with more than Genesis butyrins. Like, you need Nakamoto blood, Zabo blood, Finney blood, and butyrin blood, because we got a lot of game theory going on in there, trying to crack the code, trying to breed that next monster. And it's all based on data. It's trying to predict the future based on the past, right? So it's just like any other technical type analysis you're going to do. But knowing that, it saves you a lot of money breeding like dumb breeds. So like, if you can look and see that there's been 701 horses bred with a Z3 legendary mother and a Z9 Genesis dad, and you can see of those 701 horses, like, only 3 of them ever made it above class 2. And of those, they shouldn't be in class 1. And you have a 0% success rate in 701 breeds. You're not going to go waste your time probably breeding that horse, right? So that's a huge value add and a huge time saver for me. Because it's making me not waste breeds. Now, the caveat to that is it rates based off offspring, and there's still algo. And I won't go into the specifics because it's the snake oil part of it. And I'm not going to give away the secrets. But, like, it's not always perfect. We've clearly seen in this game that total dogs can breed winners, and winners can breed total dogs. So it still gives you the chance to play with it. Where, hey, if you want to breed horse number 702 with that combination to see, you can, but it sets your expectation where you're not breeding this horse you think is going to be a winner for sure, and it comes out and goes 6-6-6-6-6 with no fire, right? So like it helps from an expectation standpoint. But big fan of the community. This group of people, like, as things change, like, we're gonna, they're gonna be way more in tune with what's going on and how to take advantage than like the general masses. I had some dude talking shit to me the other day, calling me like a Zed Discord ghost, and I was like, why the hell would I go in Zed general Discord? I went in yesterday for 5 minutes because ECS said it was like World War III in there, and I saw people like ripping up Ryan from Know Your Horses. I'm like, without that dude, like, most of y'all wouldn't even have anything worth of shit, right? Like the stuff them and Lucky and all that stuff's put together. So I'm just like, I'm not going to go in that cancerous chat room. Like, I'm very available on Twitter. I have no problem having a conversation. You can email me. Hell, you can text me. You can call me. I don't care. But I'm not going to go waste my time dealing with a bunch of people I've never heard of or seen that are just like FUD masters. Like, there's just no point. But yeah, back to the blood tool, man. The community alone in there. Um, Dan's trying to get to a point where like we're all part owners. Where we vote on someone that wants it. Like, hey, do we want them in? Do we not want them in? And a lot of it, we're just telling people like, honestly, like, I don't think this would be worth your money. Like, you don't have a stable that will benefit from said blood tool. And I'm not saying that to be like some kind of like prick where people are like, oh, big stables, rich stables. It's not like that. There's some smaller stables in there for sure. It's just a matter of you got to have the right pieces to take advantage. And they don't even all have to be Genesis, but like you got to have all the different bloodlines to really make the magic happen, if that makes sense. And then he's putting together this cool thing. I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about it or not, called Blood Barn, where basically it's going to give anyone access to all of us putting certain horses in this. We're like, hey, if you want an offspring from here, like we'll make it for you type thing and make it affordable and a good deal. But where we're not giving away like, the secrets. And then we're telling Dan he should do a thing where he consults. We're like, hey, you don't want to play one ETH, that's fine. Maybe, you pay a little bit of something or do a full swap or something. And then, he'll analyze your whole stable for you and give you kind of like a report in a meeting, like, hey, we'd recommend you try these different combinations type thing. So like, there's a lot of stuff working there. I think it'll be a big thing in the community. MJ's working on some stuff. A couple of people are working on, there's someone else that posted last night. Like there's other people working on breeding tools. The more, the merrier. I think the more of us that are honing in on it, the quicker we crack the code. And I would love to be the dude that cracks the code, man, and just make some stupid monsters, But for every great horse I make 20 shitty ones. So that's just the game, right?
Do you have any set in stone breeding patterns at the moment?
Yes. I barely mess with exclusives, and I don't really touch elites yet. Some of my Z1s I'm going to throw at to make some elites Zabos here soon. Anything like I'm not fucking with anything over like a Z20 ever. I don't see the point. Honestly, anything over Z10, I'm not really excited about. Caveat to that is when they open renting and stuff, I'm going to breed a bunch of like Z20 monsters to rent out to people because it's free money at the end of the day, right? But I'm trying to keep everything as low Z as possible, mixed blood. Honestly, I'm sitting on everything right now. Like as much as I want to pay $1,500 every time I breed, I don't. So, I got 15 Jin Nakamoto girls that are just sitting there burning breeds that I'm not breeding. I can't justify it at this price. I said, I bred 6 things with the blood tool to try out, a couple legendaries, a couple exclusives, playing with it, toying with it. Once I get about 50, 60, 70 races on those, I'll see where I want to go from there. But that's where I'm at right now. Hard rules. Don't waste your time making these Z40s and 50s and 60s until there's purpose for them in the game. If there's races that are Z50 and below, which Zed would be stupid not to have those, because you're just opening up more income streams, right? Like if you have a Z200 plus league, a Z100 to 200 league, a Z50 to 100 league, like people are going to pay to enter those races. And maybe they're $1 races. Like, why don't we have $1 races, man? Like you do 250, what's $1 at this point? Or even 50 cents. Hell, DraftKings has the nickel and the 1 penny pools, right? Like, why not have those? You're still getting your cut of it. You're not putting any strain on the system. Like obviously your servers can hopefully handle it. All that should come. They're idiots if that doesn't come at the end of the day. They started this because horse racing ownership was exclusive. They want to open it up to the masses. Well, if you want to open it up to the masses, make it where anyone can afford to play. And whether that means like I will go breed Z 150s for 0.001 and give them the people for 0.0011, so that they can go play in the 100 and 200 plus league. That would be awesome to get more people in the game, because when people find success, they invest more. When they invest more, we all benefit, right? Rising tide, all boats. These are just speculations, just ideas.
No,
but like,
I like all those.
you know what I mean? For me though, I'll go back to it. Like, I don't focus on today or tomorrow. Like like I said, I'm buying Genesis horses at today's prices for, tomorrow's valuation. Um, and that's how I look at things. Like I don't buy a company in my hedge fund. Like I don't buy stock based on what you did the last 10 years. I buy stock based on what I think you're going to do over the next 10 years. Right. Um, that's investing 101. Like you don't pay, well, you do pay for past success. It's called paying a premium. Right. But like you're paying for the future success, the future premium of said company. And if you're not looking at this at all like that, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like take your, you want to get to financial freedom. You're young. What are you like 20, 21, 22?
21.
You're 21. So like, I'm assuming, so you work, you play Zed, right? Or you can call it, I don't know, like whatever. You're
Nope.
at that age.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
not college. So you're at that age where you're doing whatever. You're figuring out your life, what you want to do with your life, right? Like if you can go in here and build wealth, being a personality, which I mean, how many people have we seen do this now that are multi millionaires because people like to listen to them on screen? Like if you could do that and then build this stable, I thought your thought process when you went into Zed was really good. Like, hey, I know Nakamoto's where I need to be. Like Genesis is cool and all, but Nakamoto's seem to be a big deal. Little as you'd buy a top 100 horse. I mean, that's obviously there's luck to it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not all skill. Because Diamonds wasn't raced, I think, or named or anything, right? Yeah. So I mean, like, I think the way you approach it though is like, hey, if I get something that can make me money, positive money, more so than I can make on what I'm currently doing, that's a win. And that's how you build wealth. That's how you get to financial freedom and financial independence, right? So like I think if more people approach the game like that, those people will be happy long term. Now, if you're just here to get drunk with your buddies and throw some mud on the wall, like that's cool too. Zed needs to be have it for both, right? And the quarter or nickel races would be great for that for the common player, and then you could have the bigger money stuff for the bigger money people. And like I don't get a high off racing $1,000 buy-in race or a $500 race. Like I'd much rather race $2 races all day and grind away. Like home runs are great, but like the singles and doubles are what pays the bills and builds wealth. And I cannot say that enough for people. Like if you're always trying to hit the home run, more than likely you're going to fail.
That's me.
Like I tell ECS, he's sending me horses all the time, these unraced. I was like, dude, stop trying to buy these lottery tickets on OpenSea. Like buy something proven. You've spent, like I told him, I was like, you could have 15 unraced Genesis right now for the amount of shitty lottery tickets you bought the last 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Take a chance, but like do it with profits, right? Like don't take your bread and cheese bankroll and take these crazy chances when you could take your bread and cheese bankroll and take something that should hold value if Zed is successful. Now the wild card is, if it fails, well then it sucks. We're all out, and then we just have these PFPs in our wallet we end up hiding, so we never have to look at them again, right? I have a huge graveyard like that in my OpenSea, unfortunately. But that's not typical. Like there's, and this is what I always said in advising. There's stay rich money, there's get rich money, and there's fuck you money. Okay. Stay rich money is 80% of your portfolio. It's calculated risk, it's risk defined, it's stuff that should not ever go to zero. Get rich money is like a combination of, hey, I'm going to take some more chances here, but if I lose all my get rich money, I'm still good with my core. Your get rich money, when it hits, turns into the fuck you money. And that's where you can take extreme risk, right? But like, if you're treating, the bread and cheese stay rich money like the get rich or fuck you money, you set yourself up for financial distress down the road. That's just life. That's a free financial management 101 lesson for anyone out there that is new
I
to
like
money
that.
at all.
I like
You
that.
know what I mean? But you got to look at them in different buckets, man. Like my Zed stable is not my mortgage money. Some people it is. It's rent money. That's a problem. But keep spending that money. I'll take it.
What would you value your stable in Ethereum right now?
I got 2 stables. My other one's just got a bunch of buttes in it, I think. Like in the super depressed market.
Yeah, right now, I mean, We'll do both. We'll do, if you were to liquidate right now, what's the value? And then if you were to liquidate, let's say August, what was the value?
Like, what would my August value be based on what I have now? Okay.
Yeah.
I would say if I got like fair value right now for all my horses, give or take a little bit, I'd say probably like 550 ETH, give or take right now. Um, I'd say, August valuation, probably 675, 700, give or take,
Dang.
which I think shows you that like the market's not as depressed as you think it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like that 675, 700 ETH is probably similar to like what that 500 USD is worth right now at the end of the day. Now, obviously that's because, Nakamoto's and Szabos they hold their value a little bit better um, than a Buterin, right? So like a Buterin may be down 90% of its value, but like a Nakamoto's maybe only down 20%, right? So it's like, so the stables with lower blood or higher Z bloodlines are probably feeling the crunch more than the stables with, lower Z, higher bloodlines, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the more quality
Yeah.
in terms, right?
Yeah. Quality over quantity. Like, would you take a Z1 unraced, unbred male, or would you take 50 Z8 Buterin males unraced or unbred? I mean,
That's easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's worth the same, costs the same amount of money, but like, which one are you going to take? I think most people would take the Nakamoto, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's something to keep in mind. Like, people are always wanting to trade up and trade up and trade up, and that's cool. But keep in mind, you can trade yourself up into like a liquidity issue. So, you flip 5 buttes into a Finny. Well, now you just have one chance of making income, where before you had 5 potential income sources, right? Same thing, I bought a bunch of Zabos back in the day because I was like, man, I'm making like 900,000% of breed on these things because the legendaries sell for one, and they cost you dual stable. It's cost you 0.05 to breed, right? Especially before they even upped the breeding minimums. Like when you could breed everything for 0.03, like it was just taking candy from a baby. And now what's cool is like with Nakamoto's, when I used to want to breed my Z1s, it was annoying because I have to put them out there for like 0.4 so they don't get sniped, right? So I'd put them out there, I'd breed them real quick. My cost would be what, 0.23 or whatever it would be. Well, now I'm throwing my Nakamoto's up for minimum, so my Z2s are only costing me 0.07 to breed. It's like I can still sell that for even 0.3 or 4 if I wanted to. That's a 400% return on your assets at the end of the day. So like that's not that bad. I can tell you there's nothing in the traditional markets that pays 400% a month return on risk. So that's how I see it. And maybe that's why I'm more bullish than others. Maybe, I'm blessed in the sense that I'm in a position where I can spend money into this game that some people can't. But, I personally work my ass off to get where I am. I'm still grinding every day. I'm reading market reports till 2 a.m. every day. Right. I'm sacrificing things, and this isn't like a, sob story or anything. We're saying like I work hard
Right.
to get where I'm at. And I see tons of people grinding in Zed, and like, I wish at 21, and I grew up trading. Like my mom had me in that stuff at a very young age. But I wish I had the financial knowledge that this NFT market has created for all these kids out here. Like I wish I had that at 21. Dude, cell phones came out when I was 14, man. So like, I'm from a different era, right? I didn't come out, but that's when everyone started getting one, right? Like 14, 15. I wish I had this knowledge, and the amount of money that a lot of people are going to lose over the next couple of years in this NFT market is going to be a great education of markets in general. You're going to get your ass ripped. A lot of you are going to lose every penny you put into NFTs. And I'm not saying it to be an asshole. I'm saying it to be real, because all this free money that's being created by all these projects, like that will not last. Eventually it will falter. And when your whole argument is, oh, I get to go to this cool party and, oh, look at all the stuff they're giving me. That's not indefinite. That's not forever. I'm not saying everything's going to fail, but a lot of stuff is going to fail. And it's going to be a great education. Tell people just take your licks, figure out where you went wrong. And now the next time you go in, you know, you're going to be good. I always say with trading, like if anyone only tells you about wins, they're full of shit. Like my hedge fund, we're right 51% of the time. We're wrong 49% of the time. So we're 50-50. The key though is our rights, we 4x our wrongs. That's how you make money in anything, any market, right? Same thing with NFTs. You may invest in 10 projects and you may be wrong on 9 of them. But if that one greatly outpaces those 9 shitty ones, you're in business, man. Markets 101. I will say, I think Zed is going to be one of those positives. And I put my money where my mouth is on that, and I'll continue to do so. And if I'm wrong, like I said, that sucks. Be a great tax write-off in a couple of years. But like, I don't think I'm wrong. I feel like I'm pretty good at spotting value. I'm also good at, you know, there's some mismanagement going on behind the scenes. Like you can't deny it. But would you feel worse if Zed died and you lost $5,000? Or would you feel worse if like some robot lizard picture went to 0 and you lost $5,000? Like which one are you able to look in the mirror and be like, well, you know, this was producing income and I took my shot. You're gonna look at this one and be like, why the fuck did I invest in a robot lizard picture?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I look at it, man.
Especially like you have good horses and I have a good horse, right? So when the whole crypto or the NFT market dipped after August, like I didn't feel anything. Why? Because I'm still producing income, passive
Right.
income by racing my horse. I mean, like I'm sitting over here like I don't know what everybody's bitching about because I get what everybody's bitching about outside of Zed Run, but I mean like I have an asset that's producing yield. I can breed it. I can race it. I mean like no complaints.
Yeah, 100%. And like, there's people that aren't making money, but what you got to understand is like, a bunch of us are racing Genesis that were never raced before. So we're putting those in the ecosystem. People are starting to figure out breeding and combinations. Those are coming to the ecosystem. So it's not that Zed's screwing you. It's that there's more competition, right? And you're seeing WAGME right now. I haven't talked to the team yet, or I think it's 2 guys, or met them. Would love to have a conversation at some point. But like people like that are coming into the game with bankrolls. This Valley purchase yesterday, they hit me up too. I was like, man, I can't compete with that bankroll, dude. Like those dudes are stacked, man. Like 0 chance I can go toe to toe with them. And there's gonna be people that come in bigger than them. So like those people are gonna exist. I can tell you a lot of the bigger stables I've talked to are on the same page as me. Like we want to have 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 racers that are EV positive so we can rent that shit out to some kid in Sri Lanka or Madagascar or Venezuela or wherever, where they can get on their little MetaMask on their phone and they can feed their family because they're making money doing something where, you know, they're in a place where due to inflation or shitty government or whatever, like they can't earn a fair wage. That's why I'm doing it. I mean, that's what you see the Axis. Who is it? CRM, like he was organizing like food drives for some of his scholars when that hurricane hit in the Philippines, and he was getting shit sent over there and stuff. Like that's because of a video game, man. Like that's like some good stuff. Look at Zook and all them and Pony Plug. They're raising money for a good cause for like philanthropy and stuff. Like there's a lot of good people in this community, in this ecosystem. And like I've seen it because like if you go on Twitter, dude, I was getting like hate death threats the other day when I was like, I don't get bored apes with just like a giant fire festival or something. I said, I had people just ripping me apart in DMs. Like, oh, you just don't get it. It's like when you go into like an investment board and you like bring up an obvious solid negative about a company. And like people they're such blind zealots that they just like rip you down. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, you can call my family fat, but that doesn't really change the fact that this company's bleeding money at $100 million rate a month, right? Like you can insult me personally. Like that one dude on Twitter, I don't even say his name because he's an idiot, but that's like takes assaults at like my personal life. I'm like, okay, guy. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. But like, yeah, it's like when a community is so zealot, like that like they can't see the flaws in it. And anyone watching today, like I'm pretty positive about Zed on Twitter, but I think you could see like I'm pretty critical of them as well. Like there's a lot of stuff they need to tighten up over time, which I feel they will. Like if you can't see it from both ways, if you can't admit the pros and discuss the cons, I mean, you're just setting yourself up for failure. It's emotion, man. People get emotional. I get it. We've all been there. I get emotional about things too. You know, the Longhorns suck. The Astros keep losing in the World Series. The Texans are terrible. The Rockets suck. All my teams are terrible, man. I'm emotional about it, but like I can only control what I can control. And I think that's a big thing that people come to learn as they get older. Like if you just control what's in front of you and what you can tangibly get your hands on, like running your stable the way you want to run your stable, you're good. You can't control what Zed does. No matter how much you bitch on Twitter, it's not going to change anything. But if you're constructive about it, they'll give you an ear. Can't say it easier than that. If you're nice about it, critical, but like not fuck this, fuck that, they'll listen to you. Trust me, I talk to a couple of them all the time, and you know, they're reasonable people. They're just like us. They're not gods. They're not superheroes. They're just dudes trying to build a business, which a lot of us have been there. I get it. It's hard.
Yeah, and I mean, whenever they release something that we want, we're still like, we're not gonna like it. Half the people aren't gonna like it. So
always, man. That's why I say people, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly.
You see it all the time. Yeah, and like the one that gets me just over and over is the free race thing. Using free races for tournaments and leagues is ingenious. I think that you shouldn't get class points taken away, and I think you shouldn't add class points. Like, especially in a league, like that's your class for that league season, right? And you're in it. With ELO, I think that might take it out because you have to worry about it. Who knows? We'll see that. But like, they can't just keep giving money away, right? Without bringing income streams in. Naruto said what on the stream yesterday, like they did all the free races to pump up numbers to make it look better to VC and stuff. There may be some truth to that, but they also took the community feedback that they wanted more free races. And then they said, hey, we're going to repurpose this money to more people because everyone was bitching about the bots and how they could never get in the free races. And they took the free races away and now everyone's bitching that they can't get in the free races, but you weren't getting it anyways. So it's like, what are you complaining about? Now they're taking that money and giving you a puncher's chance to win it in a tournament. And we saw the first tournament, there were some 3 dog shit horses that made that final, right? Out of 12, it's 25%. If I can get in, especially with these tiered tournaments that they're doing this time, like there's gonna be a lot of people getting these tournaments that didn't get in the last one, and it's a rush and it's fun and it's something you can send to your friends and your family and people can watch it. Like, but people find a way to complain about it, and that's just human nature. Like, if you go back and look at like everything written for thousands of years, like people always bitch. People will always bitch. We just are now able to bitch so much more because of technology, social media, and forums or whatever you want to say. Like I can come on here and rant for a couple hours about whatever I want and no one can punch me in the face because I'm sitting behind a computer screen. Yeah. Back then you had to go to the town square, get on a chair and start bitching. And then, maybe some soldiers came up and chopped your hands off, right? Like that's what it used to be like. Now you can sit back here and keyboard cowboy or, all day. Yeah, I agree with you. People are always going to find a reason to be upset. My point is I'm still seeing all the same names today that I've seen for the last year. And I'm seeing new names too. Not as many new names as I'd like, but I don't think the game could handle a bunch of new players right now until they fix the system and spread it out more. Because at the end of the day, more races should be a net cash positive for Zed because of the rake. So for whatever reason, the more they're able to get out there, the better it's going to be. They can't do that if they're just giving free money away all the time. But I think maybe you'll see some type of return to that. I love the idea, for example, of having a maiden class where you are stuck in maiden class until you win that first race. That's just like real horse racing, right? You maiden. Some horses never win. Well, you're not going to see them on the Derby trail, right? So like, that's just how it is. I think that would be cool. But the more races they get out there, the more people they get in the game, the more breeding, they're making money off all that stuff. I think sponsorship money, advertisements, I can't wait to get these skins on the track. I got some cool looking skins, man. I can't wait to get that out there. I can't wait for Atari to give me a call and be like, hey man, you got a nice stable. Like, can I pay you 20 grand to run at all these events with that skin you got on that horse? Yes, you can. hit me up.
Let's
Let's go. You know
go.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, these are all things that I'm assuming are future state of Zed. If they don't execute on all this, well then shit, I was wrong. And yeah, I'll move on to the next thing. That's life, man.
How'd you feel as a bigger stable that's paying all this rake, and then that rake is just going to people that really aren't putting too much skin into the game with free races when they had free races with prize pools?
Yeah, I can tell you I never raced free. I didn't have the patience to try to click in that stuff. I mean, it's a cost of doing business. Like, I don't bitch about commissions and trading options, right? It's cost of doing business. I don't bitch when I lose 10% on my return when I sell an NFT because of gas. Cost of doing business. Rake is cost of doing business. You go play poker in Vegas or wherever, there's a rake. It's cost of doing business. It's just, that's how life is. Everything has a cost of doing business. Taxes are a cost of doing business, right? That's how I look at life. You can't hyper focus on that because it's not going anywhere. Taxes have been around as long as man's been around, right? So honestly, I never even thought of it like that. I wish people would realize what Zed's trying to do as far as why they're trying not to give it all away, why they're trying to make it conducive to stay. And I mean, if they bring like a quarter race or a 50-cent race, like, you can't bitch about the free races. I mean, I understand how you could bitch about 250 even, but like, at the end of the day, you could race 100 times for $250. Can you imagine if you could race 100 times for $50? It'd be awesome. That would get a lot more people in the game. Does Zed want to go that direction? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I just look at it as a, cost doing business tax. It is what it is. Because I can assure people, like, for every $100 you're losing, like, I'm losing too. Like, it's not like I'm over here printing billions of dollars right now. Like, I've been getting my ass handed to me on the tracks. I can't breed and make that income because the prices are ridiculous. Like, it's not like all of us sitting up here in, as y'all call it, the clouds and rich stable land, or like enjoying life and making money. Like, we're feeling it arguably worse than you. It sucks. It does. It sucks 100%. I can't wait. I look forward to every change because, hey, maybe it'll unlock some value I didn't see before, or didn't have before. But I've been fortunate to make a lot of money in the game so far, but I can assure you I'm not making money right now. Not even close. So
Let's say I give you half an ETH. You have no horses. You've researched the game. What are you going to go get to start a stable?
You always ask this question. So, like, if I have a good understanding of the ecosystem today, that's tough. I'm either going legendary neck, Z2, probably going for like 0.35 right now, right? And then I pick up a butte probably. Like, nah, you know what I'd probably do if I only had 0.5 ETH? I'd probably find a stable and be like, hey man, I'm new, I want to get in. I see you're sitting on like 50 of these unraced, unnamed Z2s. Like, let me buy 2 of them for 0.5. It just takes some lottery shots. That's probably what I'd do. I'd YOLO it for sure. Because 0.5, like, it's going to be a hobby. It's going to be fun. Like, I'd say realistically, you got to throw a couple ETH in from an investment standpoint in today's market if you want to start to build something. But right now, the premiums on racers, man. I mean, you got to have racers if you want to print right now, right? Breeding's a shit show. Yeah, I'd spin a lottery ticket for sure.
Okay. So
Yeah.
say guys like you, WagMe, all these guys that are coming in to buy racers. Let's say, like, where do you see the floor on a good racer in a few years? Like, just minimum, like, this horse is profitable. What do you think the floor is on that?
In a few years?
Yeah, because, like, people are you're coming in and just buying straight up racers. Arbitrage buys just straight up racers. WagMe's just buying straight up racers. So, like you said, Perry on Dow, they bought Breathless Ed. So a lot of these people are just coming in and buying racers. So do you think just like the premium on racers is just going to skyrocket over these years?
I think Genesis racers will carry a premium as opposed to non-Genesis racers. And I can tell you this. So like, for example, John the horse, 3 months ago, he got purchased for 6 ETH 3 months ago, right? Just this past week, I purchased John the horse, Jelly Fragment, Doc Brown, and Compass, all 4 very profitable racers for less than what he sold for 3 months ago. Right? Those are 4 U horses, 4 horses that will make money in this environment. None of those are Genesis. Well, Compass is a Genesis, I believe. And I think I paid 1 ETH for Compass. So that's, it's what, 6x, 7x the Genesis Butte floor right now. But the other ones, I mean, all way down value wise. But I can tell you my Genesis Nakamotos that are racers, like they're not going at a discount ever. You know what I mean? Okay, go get one. I'll be done in a minute, okay? Well, I'm on a call. When I'm done, I'll go with you, okay? Doesn't work like that, baby. All right, hold on. We're gonna move. Stay with me. Y'all got to get to her. All right, see you this So like I think it's tough to say floor price just because A, we don't know what ETH's gonna do. B, we don't know like if they're I think they need to, as everyone says, they need to get the breeding and racing on USD and get it off the ETH. Like that's just terrible for the market, right? I'm on these. She's in the car. On top of that, I think it's going to depend on what they do. Like if they change race results from time to time, if they change algos and stuff like that, it's going to significantly reduce the value of non-Genesis, right? Don't change that, and they keep it where like, hey, a racehorse is always going to be a racehorse. I think the floor will. I mean, it's tough to say because what if ETH's 20K 2 years from now? You know what I mean?
Right. Then yeah, you wouldn't really know.
Yeah, you would not know when it happens. I would say it's going to be higher than it is now, though, especially once they fix racing. Like, I think that's the problem right now. Is there's so many unknowns that you can't make a good solid plan.
Okay. All right. Last question for you. I give you the keys to Zed Run. You can change one thing. You can bring back odds. You can take away breeding minimums. You can do whatever you want. What are you changing?
I got one change and I got one addition.
Sounds good.
So I mentioned this earlier. What I'm adding is a fully interactive community board. So like your stable financial information, your stable results, filterable, break it downable, where you can break it down to each individual horse, similar to like kind of like a Know Your Horse Hockey does, but like something native to the platform. And then just some type of leaderboard. Basically take these community tools and implement it into the Zed platform. That's what I would add, because I think, you can't just rely on the community to do that forever. If anything, hire these guys to come in and build it. I mean, they can obviously program and code, right? As far as change, I mean, I could say obviously take the breeding fee off ETH, but I think that's what everyone would change. So I'm not going to cop out with that, but I would definitely do that. I would change the class system is just abysmal. But I think the change I would make is the maiden class. Like you race maidens until you win, and they're just like Griffins. They're always available. They're always there. You just keep popping in. They're free. Maybe they pay like small prizes out, right? Like maybe you still have the Griffin, but then if you don't win the Griffin, you move into the maiden class, and maybe it's like $5 to the winner, but it's free. So you can sit there and you can race all the distances, figure out your horse. You eventually win, you get out. Then we get to brag like who's on their 187th, maiden race type thing. Like who's the dog there. But that's what I would do. So I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I would.
Because I would be intentionally breeding donkeys to try to stay in maiden class.
And then intentionally breeding those donkeys, you're gonna hit on something, right? And then you're gonna be like, oh, yeah, cool. I got a Z 125. That's a racer.
Yeah, like look at the John the horse. Like obviously he hasn't been running that well lately, but like he's like a Z13 elite. He's got the fastest time ever in 2600. I think he's got like the third fastest time ever in 2400. Well, people don't realize he's also got like the 12th fastest time in 1000. But his variance there is so insane. He's in the bottom 10% median speed, but he's in the top like half percent top speed. So like he's gonna go like that horse just has ridiculous variance in every class. His 1,000 meter, for example, like you're gonna get lucky. You could find a horse that can only race at one distance, but it could be like it could completely dominate that distance, and it could be a Z24 cross something or another. Like I've never even had a cross or pacer. I don't even know which one comes first, honestly. But like there's going to be a market for those. There's some good horses there, and like that's another thing. Do you eventually have an open division, Genesis division, legendary races? Like how does that all work? Like these are all ways they could go, directions they could take. Um, I know bigger stables would like it because we have a lot of those horses, and it'd be nice to spread them all out where we're not cannibalizing it. You know, like if there's only one 1400 class one, but I have 7 horses I want to run at 1400 class one, like it sucks because you're never going to run through them, right? But if you broke them all out like that, that would be pretty cool. I'm telling you, they can do a lot of cool stuff, man. I'm anxious to see what they do. I really am.
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
Man, me too. I'm
Yeah.
really hopeful.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as the FUD goes, I mean, I give the team some credit. I'm also the first to say, man, like the team today won't be the team tomorrow, right? Like heads will roll at some point, especially the more outside money and influence you bring in. I'm sure they're going to announce sometime soon, like a new investment. Like they're going to keep getting money. This thing's going to grow. Like everyone sees blockchain utility and where it's going. And this is just such an easy, accessible, and easy to explain sport to people. Um, it's just, I talk to ZG a lot. This thing's like 10% developed, man. Like it was an idea that got popular, got valuable. When that happens, the money starts flowing in and whatever explodes from there. Um, that's what I've seen in innovation. I've been around the block a few times. Like I said, like I'm older. I've seen these companies come from nowhere. The Teslas of the world, the Apples of the world. I mean, how dumb would you feel? What's his name? I always forget his name. Ron, I think. He was the third investor in Apple. He owned 10%, but like 2 weeks later, he got bought out for $950. Like,
Oh.
look that up. Like, I can't remember. I think it's Ronald or Ron's his name. But there's three creators to Apple, and then he was like, no, I can't take. He owned like the computer store that they were building and selling the computers at originally. Ronald Wayne, is that his name? That might be a serial killer. I think it's Ronald Wayne, something like that. Anyways, but just look him up on Wikipedia. Like he literally owned 10% Apple, sold it for like $900. Like 2 weeks later, like he's still alive today. I mean, he'd be worth.
I think he cut out. He might have cut out. Let's see if we get him back. Oh, he was spitting. Damn. Damn, that was some fire shit. Maybe his computer died or something. Damn, that was good. We'll see if we can get him back. What up, chat? You guys there? Hey, can you hear me? Hunter. There we go. There we go.
Sorry,
You're good.
I lost connection.
All good. You were spitting, so I was like, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, sorry. Are we still on? Are we still live?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay, cool. No, yeah, I say look him up. But yeah, that's what I just tell people, like, give it time. That's all you can do. Because here's the thing, like, if you want to get out now, good luck. Like people are kind of holding at this point. They're not really jumping shit, but they're also not putting money in. But it'll all change. Things will come out. These free tournaments where they're throwing free money. I mean, I see people like, oh, I'm going to sit out the tournament because I'm worried about where my horse is going to end up class wise. You got to realize like that's all going to change. Like free tournaments should be EV plus. If that makes sense. Like, yes, if your class 5 horse gets moved up into class 1 because you win 20 out of 30 free races, like that probably sucks. But like that ship will get righted over time. And now that it's cheap, sounds like the down class again, even though it's a little harder, I think that'll help. The $2 races, I'm looking forward to checking that out. Like that's big. So
yeah, and like what was it that you said? Like if you're winning 28 free races, like, bro, what are you complaining about? You probably qualified for the tournament. I mean, like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're stuck in class 1 now, but you might have made some money into quarterfinals or something like that.
Yeah. How many of these ended up becoming, you know, better statistic wise, just simply because of that one thing? Oh, hold on a second. Yeah. Yeah. I'll be done. I'll be done in a little bit. I'll get all that. Yeah, I'm almost done. Kiddos got home. But yeah, there's so many people now where like that one event just made that entire lineage of that horse. You know? Now it's profitable. Now it's looking good for itself, and now you can go sell it, right? Because another thing is like there's horses that are meant for paid races. I got some of those, and there's ones that are meant for tournament races. I got a lot of those, right? That's how you got to look at it too. So
How do you look at the two? Do you mean like U-shapers or day-to-day horses, and the horses that are just getting like third, fourth, second, or more tournament horses? How do you distinguish the two?
yeah, so like look at Raised a Billion, for example. So Z1 Genesis, great breeder. At 1,600 meters, he's got a decent top speed, but his median is like off the charts. So like he's not going to win that many, but I think he's got like a 55% place rate in paid on like 50 races. So he's an example of a horse that'd be good at both because he's going to qualify for tournaments and he's going to make money racing. My U horses, like I don't know how many of them I'm going to get into a tournament, right? Because maybe they win 1 out of 3, but that might not get you in. The best ones now, especially, are these ones that are 1st through 5th. Those are good tourney horses. They suck for making money. I mean, in the current system with the 6, 4, 2, 0, 0, 0, -2 across the board. Will it change again? Obviously, yeah, it's going to change at some point. But that's just how it is. You got to be adaptable. You got to adapt and overcome. Can't say that enough. If not, you die. If that means you move along, well, then you move along, and it sucks. But it happens to all of us. Every day is a gift, I say. So, you gotta live it the best you can. So that applies to Zed too. So
cool, man.
Yeah,
Do you have
man.
any questions for me?
No, I mean we chat occasionally. I just say keep doing your thing. It's fun. It's nice having something to break up the day. Grab some lunch and flip on the show for a little bit. So I definitely appreciate that. I'd say not any questions, but just unsolicited advice. Just keep grinding. The more you do at this age, the much better you'll be when you're old like me. So can't stress that enough.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to be able to buy whole stables like you, so I might hit you up for some investing advice or something like that.
Do it, man. I love talking about it. So anytime.
Well, cool, man. Sweet. Where can people contact you at?
I'd say just hit me up on Twitter, man. I think you posted it. Yeah, I have Discord, but like I don't have it on my phone and stuff because I'd never be able to disconnect. I'd say Twitter's the best.
Sweet, man. Well, I think
Yeah.
this was a great conversation. There's a lot that people could learn, and I loved your perspective just on investing to crypto to Zed Run to blockchain gaming to the metaverse. I just think a hedge fund manager's perspective on this whole space is very interesting.
It's new, man, and there's a lot of money flowing into it. And you go where the money goes, you're usually going to come out ahead. So, there's a lot of projects, a lot of options. You don't have to pigeonhole yourself to one. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but you also got to know when it is time to cut bait and run. Everything will fail. I don't think this particular one will fail. I don't think something like Axi's or Voxy's is going to fail. Utility plays. So I just keep that in mind.
Sweet. All right. Thank you so much, Hunter.
Cool, man. Have a good one.
Yep, you as well. Thank you guys for
Later.
tuning in.